Moments ago, Governor Cuomo announced that he will be closing New Rochelle Public Schools 1 mile from Young Israel Synagogue for 2 weeks. The schools impacted are limited to New Rochelle High School, which includes Campus School, Albert Leonard Middle School, and Ward Elementary School in the City School District of New Rochelle. That'll be closed from March 11th through March 25th as of this most recent guidance. We anticipate students to return to school on March 26th. While students are at home, remember not to congregate unnecessarily, keep safe, and have students work on educational materials provided to you. If you need access to a Chromebook because you do not have access to a computer at home, please email chromebook@nredlearn.org. We will work to distribute and deliver Chromebooks to those who need them for middle and high school students. All Chromebooks must be returned when students return to school. We will make these 2 weeks count instructionally and ensure students are learning and engaged while we deal with this worldwide crisis. Students will receive targeted instructional guidance, which will be aligned horizontally district-wide. Please look for emails directing you to important information that pertains to your child's academic progress over the next 2 weeks. The CSDNR has advocated from help from the governor's office to aid in supporting students who are food dependent on the district. We are committed to working with state officials to ensure that the state is ready to support our students every day that we are closed beginning tomorrow. The CSDNR cannot handle this alone. We need state funds and state's commitment that food will be made available and delivered to homes where students have been identified as needing this level of support. We thank the governor's office for their partnership. After speaking with his staff, it is clear to us that they understand the complexity of our district and our advocacy to stay open. We trust that continued dialogue with the governor's office will help position New Rochelle and our 11,000 students well. As always, we will communicate when developments arise. We believe students are safest in school and are eager to reopen as soon as possible. It is inevitable that one of our students or staff will contract the virus. What is in our control is to be ready, calm, decisive, and responsive to any and all circumstances which may arise. Our PrEP plan, which has led the state through this difficult time, does just that. As always, the CSDNR is fully committed to all of our students. We will continue to update you with prompt and accurate information. Once again, we are committed to a safe and nurturing environment for all students and staff, and we commend the nurses, teachers, clinicians, custodial team, school leaders, and staff who have been working tirelessly to ensure our schools are wonderful places where high-level learning takes place with caring and thoughtful continuous support from these professionals. Thank you.
Could you speak to the issue of the meals? You're going to coordinate somehow with the National Guard, and how's that going to work? And how many meals are you planning to deliver? And is it going to be, breakfast and lunch? And how's that going to work?
So we're working closely right now with the state to figure that out. We're in constant communication with them. We do have a list of students who are eligible, and we'll be working with them to figure out how to deliver it.
How many students are on that list?
We have 2,822 students on that list. It's defined as free and reduced lunch. And there was a 3 o'clock call that I was on while the superintendent was attending to another matter where this was expressly discussed. We are going to be discussing with the governor's office directly and sharing with them our list, our full list, students and addresses, which we were told by council is permissible under this extreme circumstance. And they are going to be working with us to coordinate what level of help they can provide, whether it's breakfast and lunch or just lunch. We believe, however, that their first push for help will start on the 12th and not tomorrow, although we're still advocating for it to start tomorrow.
What arrangements are being made, or are arrangements being made for working parents who have no way of caring, or have no easy way of caring for these kids because they normally would be in school?
So we raised that on our call with the governor's office that it may be an issue. Right now in that area, families, we're trying to work with them. They're emailing us and we're trying to provide support, but there's no, we can't access those schools during that time.
This impacts 5,508 students.
I'm sorry, say that number again?
5,508 students, Albert Leonard, the high school, and Ward Elementary School. And as the superintendent said, part of the reason why the PrEP plan that she rolled out really advocated for keeping schools open was because of all these unintended consequences. Now that the governor has decided the best course of action, of course we will fully comply, and there are 3 schools that will be impacted.
You said that you will make sure these 2 weeks count structurally and these students are educated and engaged while we deal with this worldwide crisis. Can you sketch that out a little bit? Are you going to have remote learning, Zoom sessions, homework they have to fulfill?
So first, we've already asked students to work on the things that they already have. They already have assignments and homework that they need to work on. We are going to be providing them with a list of things that they can do by grade level. So it's not going to be targeted or specific, but they will have access to technology if they need it, and they will be able to do meaningful, purposeful, grade level work that they can bring back and the teachers will incorporate into their program.
So it'll be like a reading list or like workbooks, like what's
Some reading, access to some platforms for certain grades like ALEC. There'll be access to some platforms that students already have access to, and they'll have the Chromebooks to be able to do that. It'll be reading lists, it'll be some assignments. We'll be able to send that out to them directly.
One of the initiatives that was piloted and was born from this crisis was this Chromebook take-home program that was launched under Dr. Fejo. Certainly the Board of Education commends you for your innovative solutions under these difficult times. We have been receiving a tremendous amount of interest in these Chromebooks. We have over 70 people who have confirmed that they want Chromebooks. We have students who have advocated for themselves, parents who have advocated. And once you highlight that you're interested in a Chromebook, there is a form that you must fill out that indicates that you are responsible to take care of this computer and return it to the school district once the schools reopen. I have personally gotten phone calls on my cell phone, because my cell phone number is at the bottom of each email, where parents say, I have now filled out the form, but I have no way of scanning it back to you. We are allowing them to take a photo, text it to me, we will print it and put it in our file. We are accommodating and working with all parents who want a Chromebook.
Do you anticipate canceling vacations because of this, or extending the school year further into the spring?
So this is an evolving process every day. We are dealing with the 2 weeks that we know 3 of our schools will be closed, and so we will see how this unfolds. I think that's a little premature.
One of the questions around town on social media here in New Rochelle, a lot of parents asking about is, why not close all the schools?
So we've advocated, and the prep plan is very clear. We want to close schools only when we absolutely have to. We think kids should be in schools, and we really think the safest place for them, both educationally and safety-wise, is in school. So we're only closing schools as is required. In this case, we are required by the state to close, and should something else come up, day by day, we're evaluating the plan, we're looking at every circumstance and making decisions about our schools.
Let me ask a follow-up. I don't know the number, but there's some percentage that the kids have to be in a particular school for that day to count as an instructional day. I saw from full credit, Tony Aiello said that the percentages were in the 20s now of kids not coming to some schools. So what's the cutoff and where are we at? Because you may get effective closure by parents just simply keeping their kids home.
So in terms of attendance, we had 82% attendance today. In terms of school days and instructional hours, I have a commitment from the state to work with us, depending on how this unfolds, not only here, but certainly across the county, to work with us for instructional days, testing, all the things that are going to come up inevitably as a result of the process that unfolds and these 2 weeks. The New York State Education Department is fully committed to supporting us as we move through the next weeks and months.
But do you know that number, the cutoff, that below which you don't get credit for a day at a school?
For state aid, it's 180 days, 900 hours in elementary and middle schools, and 990 hours in high schools. And there are some caveats to that for staff development and other opportunities, Regents Weeks, but that's the specific number. I'm not sure that I'm so worried about that. I think the state
Well, I'm really talking more about a given day, like today. If you're below 80%, you're below 70%.
Oh, you mean a specific student does not meet the seat time?
No. I mean, if Isaac Young Elementary School, middle school, is at 72% attendance, does that count as a full day? Is there a cutoff there for that school?
There's not a cutoff on the amount of attendance that would stop state aid from coming in. As long as school is open, we get state aid for the day. In terms of attendance, there are repercussions in a normal circumstance, not in this circumstance. In a normal circumstance, it would be repercussions if a student was excessively absent. But right now, I don't think those things necessarily apply. We're working with families and
think that
To clarify,
confirm on
do you have, so no students, teachers, or parents from any of these three schools has contracted coronavirus or has
We
been?
have no confirmed cases of the coronavirus in any of our schools, which would include anyone in the schools, staff and students.
So do you think this is an overreaction then?
No, I certainly think the governor has taken this incredibly seriously and has the CDC looking at patterns and trends and information that is well above the school district and has taken this step because he believes it is required. And we absolutely support that. We're abiding by it. We're working with our families in those schools. But again, in the schools that are open, we believe kids should be in schools whenever possible. If we'd have to shut down because of a particular reason, we would do it when it's in students and staff's best interest. And where it's not required, we're not gonna do it.
When it comes to disinfecting the schools, how is the labor going to be divided between school staff and National Guard?
As it comes to disinfecting our schools, that is our responsibility. I know that there is something about testing the schools afterwards.
No, in the governor's plan that was rolled out earlier today, and I'm sure you were in multiple meetings, there was commentary about how the National Guard is being deployed to New Rochelle to aid in a multitude of ways, one of which would be to clean the areas in which a large number of people have congregated, including schools. So that is a detail that we would iron out. Certainly if the National Guard is coming and they want to do a top to bottom cleaning, that would thereby be some way that we would be able to then therefore open our schools. If that was somehow a milestone that we would have to cross, of course they'd be welcome to our schools to clean our schools.
Despite reading lists, do you worry that the students in the zone are going to fall behind to their out of the zone counterparts?
So, look, we're closed in this situation. We're gonna provide whatever access we can to information, to opportunities for students to read, to listen to instructional practices. But ultimately, there are things we can figure out when we know the length and the duration that students are out, that we can make up for things later. There's a lot of things we can do in education to ensure kids are ready for the next grade. We have the summer, we have across, the spring semester. We will make sure kids are ready to go to the next grade at the time they need to, and we will take it as it comes.
Is there concern that their state test scores might suffer? Are they going to have to use the makeup days for state testing, the students that are out?
That's a really great question. So we are not, for the certainly for the elementary and the middle schools, we are not going to take tests the day kids come back. We know the test window starts there. I've already conferred with the New York State Education Department, and so that we don't have to worry about. Whether we'll take them at a later date or whether there's some other mitigating circumstance that will work out with the state has yet to be determined. But families don't have to worry that the day they come back, they would be going right into a testing situation.
And for older students at the middle and high school, are they going to be, I just want to clarify, are they going to be receiving specific assignments from their teachers that they need to complete during the 2 weeks?
It's not going to be content or class specific. They will be given some assignments, much like a summer assignment where you come back and you bring the summer assignment to school. It will be incorporated into what the teachers are looking at, but it is not going to be class specific. We want to provide students with an opportunity, and as I said, we will figure out what we need to ensure students are ready for whatever they need, certainly in the high school, if it's AP tests or regions or final exams. We are going to work and figure out a way to do that when we know the specific, if there's any additional time. Hopefully it'll be the 2 weeks or less, and we'll get right back to school.
And Dr. Marrero has been working on a very specific plan by grade level, which he is going to be sharing with the principals to share with their building level community. So there's specific readings that he wants in elementary schools, depending on the grade. In the middle schools, there's specific things that he wants students to continue to do. Much like Dr. Fejo said, they might mean using platforms like Alex for mathematics or others to make sure that students are on specific grade levels and continuing to at least maintain the content knowledge that they have. One of the things that Dr. Marrero discussed with the superintendent and I is that his major concern is to give students work and not have an ability to give them feedback, thereby giving them an opportunity to compound wrong information. We don't want that. We want to make sure that they maintain the curriculum that they already have learned this year and have a steady or small growth even in certain areas, but we certainly don't want them trying to teach themselves information that could inevitably be incorrect.
What is the name of this person and their title that you're referring to?
Dr. Alex Marrero is the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction.
And just to clarify, how many students are there in the schools that are closed versus out that are not closed?
So in total, we have 10,521 students, and the closed is 5,508 students. it's almost half. Thank you.
So, so the buildings are closed. Do you consider school to sort of still be in session? In other words, you're trying to do something, but how are you looking at that issue? How does it impact teachers? Are these vacation days, sick days, snow days? I mean, what's happening sort of on the business side of this? What do you, I guess I'd say also, what do you say to the union members, the teachers, or speak to those issues if you could?
So if the school's closed, everyone in the building is off. In terms of instructional days, we will work with the state. In terms of what happens next, we will figure that out as time moves on. The schools that are open, they should be open, we're in classes, and so it's just a matter of those schools closing. We're not going to penalize anyone, obviously, for the days, and we'll work with the state to figure out if that, the instructional time pieces. So details to continue to evolve.
I have another question on disinfecting. So what are you doing in disinfecting in the schools that are open? What's the process for disinfecting the schools that are open?
Same that's been in our plan. Okay, so 3 times a week, we're disinfecting the schools from top to bottom. We've provided resources now in the hallway. We have the 60% alcohol hand sanitizer. We've dispensed as many as we have of the classroom sanitizer. There is equipment, I probably don't know the name of it, specific equipment that they're using that's ionized, that covers and disinfects spaces by spraying it. So there's several levels of it that facilities has been utilizing to ensure that we are using effective methods against this virus and other viruses to keep our classrooms safe.
Over here.
And a number of parents have told us that there's a lack of hand sanitizer with alcohol in it. Is there enough in all the schools in the district?
So as of today, all of the hallway dispensers it was installed in. We were getting shipments in and they were slated to come in by a certain date. Some were delayed, every school had some, but we didn't have as many as had been promised to us. Some kind of delay in transit. So those are still coming in some cases, but we'll obviously deploy what we have to the open schools in the interim.
I think it should be noted that our director of facilities is really a leading expert in facilities management in New York State. He was the director of facilities planning for the New York State Education Department, and he was the former president of the National Council on School Facilities. His name is Carl Thurnow, and we're very lucky to have him.
How many Chromebooks are available as part of the loan program?
As many as we have, we're deploying them as people are emailing them to us. We have a large number at the high school, and so we're deploying them as is requested.
1,000 requests, but we're ready.
When you say at the high school, they'd be available for younger students as well.
Middle and high school students.
I know one of the things you said in your guidance today is to have students try to avoid congregating unnecessarily. In your mind, what sort of constitutes students congregating outside of school? Is that like 2 students hanging out together or a whole group of them getting to, what does that mean exactly?
I think the guidance is 10 individuals or more is congregating. We obviously want kids to keep social distance at this time, especially in the area the governor has defined, but it's defined by the state as 10 or more.
And interestingly, the governor hasn't closed restaurants or small businesses even within the 1 mile area, and so people are going to be out and they are going to be interacting with one another. People use best other areas where the internet is available, because if you have a Chromebook but you don't have access to the internet, it doesn't help you very much. We anticipate that there will be small groups of students working productively together. Of course, if you don't feel well, don't go. You know, the whole point of this is to try and limit and curtail the spread of the coronavirus as quickly as possible so that we can resume the district's full functionality.
Will you be forfeiting games, I guess, that are scheduled?
Anything associated with the high school, Ward School, and Albert Leonard is canceled. And anything inside the schools that were happening, any activities, we've canceled both.
Will those be forfeitures then, or are they made up, or how does that work?
We have to work with our athletic director to determine. Schools are closed, so I would imagine there's some accommodation for that.
Are there any plans for video lectures or teachers giving instruction remotely?
No, not for this 2-week period.
Well, we are trying to use technology whenever it makes sense. So for example, this evening we have a board meeting. It's a budget presentation. And so what we've done is, our regular course of business is to invite people to our board meetings. This time, we have said, please don't come, which is quite unusual for us, but that we're going to be live streaming it, which is why we're going to be holding it here, and we will be honoring any questions that are emailed to us. And so whenever it makes sense to use technology to quickly get the message out, we're going to be leveraging that.
I've been corrected. Yesterday's attendance was 82%. Today's was 77. I was informed incorrectly today.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Is that
Thank
for
you.
all the school districts or only the 3? Is that correct?
That's a total.
That's a total attendance for the district.
Thank you. Our normal attendance is 97%.
Anyone else?
Thanks.
Thank you all for coming.